percent overall from the field, but he was also 50% from threes. He's 5 of 10.
I know you're out there. It's okay. Stand back there.
No, more than likely, you're going to get that number 1 seed. And so I want Houston to be ranked at number 1 and 8.
What is up? What is up? Let's play move around with the boxes here for the Houston Cougars. Well, not for the Houston Cougars, for our final season episode of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family. The Saxenian Family has been the primary sponsor of Let's Rage Coogs for the entire men's basketball season from day one until whatever day this is, the final day of the season here on March 24th, 2023. Obviously, we're coming off the heels of a brutal loss for the Houston Cougars basketball team, who fell to Miami 89-75 in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA Tournament. Joining me, as always, Kris Gardner and Dayon Dunlap. Kris, how are you?
Doing great. How are you guys?
I'm doing great considering.
Yeah, all is well, man. All is well.
And we're going to bring in Aqib Gazi as well. Aqib, how are you doing, man?
I'm all right. Just a little down, but, it's March. It happens. These games happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it, because really, from talking to the players, I honestly haven't even gotten a chance to read Kelvin Sampson's post-game comments, but all the credit's got to be to Miami. From the get-go, it seemed like they were playing with some pace and energy. Now, the difference between the first half and the second half was that Houston was able to match up offensively, but Miami, for the first time all season, back-to-back times, that opponents have put up 40-plus points in the first half against Houston. And this time, unlike Auburn, Miami didn't cool off, and they just kept pouring it on. And it felt like eerily similar to Auburn when Houston went on that 13-4 run to get within 51-49. But then, the Miami Hurricane just answered with a 19-4 run, really spearheaded and led by the three-point shots. And whoosh, big kudos, major props to Nigel Pack, who, he hit some crazy deep threes that really were daggers. Every single three-pointer that was made was daggers against Houston. And, the Cougars just could not respond. They had no answer. They couldn't make an additional run. And it's Miami advancing to the Elite Eight, so back-to-back years for them, and Houston that is going home.
Nigel Pack was a difference in the game. Nigel Pack made threes in the first half. He made threes in the second half. Unlike Auburn, second half, Miami made three-pointers in the second half. Some of them were tough. Kudos to him. The Cougs got it to 2, got it to 3. Then Nigel Pack happened. He had 3 threes, less than 2 minutes, and that was it. The Cougs, they were stunned at those threes, and why not? Some of them were deep, and then the other guys hit threes. Miami shot a season best percentage against Houston, almost 52% overall. They were 44% from 3. And at one point, the Cougs were 0 for 8 in the second half from 3. And Nigel Pack had 3 himself. Miami made 5 threes in the second half, 6 in the first half. They beat the Cougs with offense. And Andy, as you touched on it, not many teams score 40 points in a half against Houston, and they did it both times.
Yeah, I thought, same thoughts, Kris. It's just, I felt like at a point after Houston went on that run in the second half, and then Nigel Pack just opened up a barrage of threes, and from there on, it became contagious for the rest of the team. I think Miller was hitting threes as well. And that was a good 3-point shooting team, like 37-38% as a team. So that's already tough as it is. But I just felt like offensively, you got you got the looks that you wanted up until, I guess, when Miami started hitting those threes. It was just kind of like, what were you going to do after that? Because some of those threes are just from the logo. and some of them were just heat check threes, and they just couldn't miss.
And
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, Dan, you got it. Go ahead, man.
Now, for me, I put this. It was the turnovers. The turnovers really stood out to me, and Miami's ability to get points off of those turnovers, especially in the first half. That's what really stood out to me. And I think Houston's inability to stop their transition offense really plagued them as well. Because when they focused on getting back, Miami did a great job of moving the ball and getting some quality shots. Outside of Nigel Pack's deep threes, which you can kind of quote unquote call it a bad shot, make a miss, or whatever the case may be, but he made them. And so for me, it was more about the turnovers and the transition defense. And Houston really didn't have any low post presence in that game. Everything was on the outside.
The Cougs only had, only it's relative, 6 turnovers in the first half. That's not bad. It's a little bit higher than Houston's average for, roughly 4 per half, 4.5 per half. But Miami scored 15 points off those 6 turnovers. It was 15 zip points off turnovers in the first half. That's hard to do. Most coaches like it to get, 1 point per turnovers. Miami almost got 3 points per turnover. That's unheard of. But we talked at halftime. A lot of folks at halftime, the Cougs were lucky, forced it to be only down 6 at halftime. Then Miami scored the first 5 points, second half, down 11. Reggie Chaney came in the game. Juwan Roberts did not have it tonight. Norshad Ormir, he was a better big man, a better 6'7" post player. He took it to Juwan Roberts. Chaney came in, second half was a spark, helped the Cougs go on a 13-4 run to get back in the game. But then Nigel Pack said, not tonight. We're not Auburn. And just started raining threes. And then his teammates hit threes. And the Cougs, they could not get stops. They couldn't get unscripted points. And, I'm not – this is like Jim Nance told us when he's walking back to get ready for the second game. It's March Madness. It's one and done. One team gets hot, one player gets hot. That's all it takes. And salute to Nigel Pack. He was a better guard tonight. He was the best guard on the floor tonight. And Miami won because of him.
Also in that first half, I don't think Jamal, he didn't have any points. Maybe had 4 assists in that first half. But in that second half, he really stepped up and kind of sparked that run. But the first half, he just wasn't like himself.
Agreed.
Yeah, at all. In that first half, he really wasn't like himself, turning it over, wasn't really aggressive. And so that he came out in the second half and definitely and played a lot better. But that first half, I think Houston probably should have rode Tremont a little bit more in that first half. Maybe just call more plays. Everything he got, his 8 quick points, was all in the flow of the game. And so it wasn't like ISO. I think he hit 2 kick-out threes from Marcus, and he got a mid-range pull-up. But when he was hot early on, I think maybe Houston could have slowed the game down a little bit and played through him a little bit more. But that first half, Jamal definitely wasn't himself.
Agreed. He looked out of breath. He looked out of, he was struggling to catch his wind. Conditioning was poor. The turnovers were uncharacteristic for him as well. And he and Coach Sampson touched on it a little bit as in the post-game comments, that Jamal just was unlike himself in that first half. And, Juwan Roberts only had 2 rebounds for the whole game. He didn't have it tonight for whatever reason. Let's see, Coach Sampson, quote, Juwan Roberts had 2 rebounds. He's our best rebounder. Jamal's live ball turnovers early in that stretch in the first half is unlike him. You know what? We didn't play very good, and they did. So, hey, that's it right there.
And the 2 things that we do the best at is offensive rebounding and forcing turnovers, and then also getting points off turnovers. We did none of that. So, if you're not going to have that in your game, it's going to be very difficult for Houston to win, because I felt like every time Miami was hitting their threes, we tried matching power. We're trying to match
3 for 3.
3 for 3, and in the first half, it worked a little bit. I think we were just a little more hot, and I think we had maybe a one extra 3 than they did in the first half even. Mm-hmm. But that second half is the Nigel Pack and Wong, those guys. those guys are elite shooters. You're not gonna match fire for fire with them. So it's just, I thought right after Nigel Pack was hitting those threes, and we tried having got some of our guys hit threes, and we did at the beginning, and from there on it's like you can't. If we kept, I felt like we could have stayed in the game if we kept going to what Shed was doing earlier, trying to get into the paint, get some buckets. But they credit to Miami though, they shut all that down. They packed the paint.
Yep.
Yeah, they definitely packed the paint. I think it was more of the inability to stop them. I think that's when Houston has gotten to the floor and have the record that they have, because they've been able to stop teams and really couldn't really string together consecutive stops in a row to get in there. I mean, we did in it to start after they went on, I think, scored 5 or 6 points in the second half. We stringed together a couple stops. I think Jamal got an and one and made a couple plays, but it wasn't like how Houston normally plays, getting consecutive stops. Miami just was in the rhythm that entire game. It didn't seem like Houston disrupted their rhythm or disrupted anything that Miami wanted to do offensively. And Jairus, I was expecting Jairus to be more physical because he had a guard on him the entire game. He had a guard on him the entire game, in which I know he hasn't really been a physical player. He's not really a physical player, but with that mismatch that he had, I think he could have exposed it a little bit more.
Jairus had missed a lot of shots around the rim. Missed layups.
Yeah, and there were gimmicks. There were some that when you think of a college, you always hear when you're going up professionally, like, oh, use the backboard, but some of those stuff they just ran in and out. It really was kind of just a microcosm of what kind of game it was for Houston, and some of those could have really changed the tide for Houston when Miami was making their run. But honestly, it was just, again, kind of the way that game was going for the Hurricanes.
And the case in point, Jairus missed a few shots around the rim. The shots rolled off. Omier had juggled the ball, bobbled the ball, tossed in a banked in a 15-footer, and I was like, yep, it's Miami's night. It's just one of those things, man. That's one of those nights, which goes back to it's March Madness. This is not a series, not 3 out of 5, 4 out of 7. If these teams played a 7-game series, it might go 4-3 Houston. But tonight, it's one game. Miami was a better team tonight. And Dayon, you were in post game with Coach Sampson. Houston's a good team. Miami's a good team. Tonight, Miami was a better team. And hey, that's what it comes down to. Other 3 number 1 seeds lost too. So I haven't seen any comments from disappointed Coug fans in the thread so far. This is not a bust of a season. Come on, this is not a bust.
I want to hold that thought, Kris. Hold that thought, because we do need to take a sponsor break. We'll get into some of the comments on the other side. And on the topic of Jairus Walker, we do have a clip from him where it's not breaking news or anything, but it's officially official that Jairus Walker will be declaring for the NBA draft. But of course, first, we'd like to thank our sponsors, beginning with Hoop and Holler. Hoop and Holler is the Houston Cougars micro collective. Hoop and Holler is the entity behind the Star Pizza commercials, such as those with Ryan Elvin, DeAnthony Jones, and also Layla Blair, who has done a name, image, and likeness deal with Hoop and Holler. And of course, we also want to say thank you to Star Pizza with 3 different locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop for pizza. Be sure to visit them online at starpizza.net, where you can check out their online menu and order online to just stop and pick up. Star Pizza, Houston's best pizza since 1976. Of course, we also like to say thank you to BB's. BB's Texas Orleans is the Cajun New Orleans themed restaurant with a unique Texas twist, featuring selections inspired by Cajun food. BB's cuisine is what they like to call Tex Orleans. Visit them online at bbstexorleans.com. And making their debut on Let's Rage Coogs, a big thank you to Harding Real Estate. Harding is owned by Vincent Harding, a proud University of Houston alumnus and former U of H homecoming king and massive UH athletics fan and season ticket holder. If you are thinking of buying or selling a house, please contact Harding Real Estate at 832-758-2712. Harding Real Estate is rooting for Cougs regardless of season all the time. And of course, like I said, let's get into some of these comments. In particular, in regards to Jairus Walker. We were on the topic of Jairus Walker, and I do like to remind that for the first time ever, there's a lot of firsts on today's episode of Let's Rate Coogs, but the comment section is presented by Lazarin Law Firm. Dan Lazarin founded the Lazarin Law Firm to provide legal representation who have been injured or arrested in the greater Houston area. Dan Lazarin understands that bad things sometimes happen to good people. Worse, false allegations are made every day. With offices in Houston and Sugarland, Dan is equipped to handle your legal needs in Harris County and surrounding counties, including Fort Bend County here in Texas. If you have been injured or find yourself in other legal trouble, call Lazarin Law Firm at 281-720-8551 or visit Dan online at www.lazarinlawfirm.com for a consultation. But I did want to get the comments, and Kris, any ones that stick out? I see Red 05 says great season, should be in contention for the Final Four again next year. Of course, a lot of people are talking about how tough of a loss it was, but here's a comment I wanted to get to. Justin Singleton, did y'all hear that Jairus Walker declared for the NBA draft? For the NBA, he put shaking my head at the end of the comment. I'm not sure why he said shaking my head, but I mean, that's something that we've known since the moment he got here. And I know it kind of stirred up when Kelvin Sampson said it on his radio show 3 weeks ago, which I think more anything, I was more surprised with the candidness of Kelvin Sampson. That he would put it up, but we knew when he first joined Houston he was going to be a one and done player. Now, before we discuss his future in the NBA, I do want to go to a clip of Jairus Walker, and here's what he had to say following Houston's loss to Miami in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, he said that even though we didn't get the job, though it wasn't an unsuccessful season. Like, we still got a couple banners hung up to be remembered by. I mean, we had a good run as a team, a lot of ups and downs, but I feel like we definitely accomplished a lot as a team.
Do you think you're almost like taking a piece of Houston with you to the NBA?
Yeah, most definitely. Just that edge, that grit. I mean, how hard I play now. It's just all things that I didn't really do before I came here. Kind of Coach Sampson instilled that in me. So just keeping that hard hat on, always ready to work each and every day just to get better. Even when I don't feel like it, I feel like I'll keep that with me forever.
I'm sorry if you've been asked this already, but could you just talk a little bit about Sasser and kind of the impact he left on Houston?
I mean, it was major. I mean, just him coming back when he definitely could have left and got drafted. Just talks about what kind of man he is. I mean, he's humble. He's unselfish. I mean, just everything that he's done for the city and the program is amazing in the years that he's been here. And I know Houston loves him, and he loves him too. So I'm just so proud of him and the run he made.
Do you have any moment or a story of y'all together that you'll kind of maybe take with you, remember forever?
I remember when his car broke down at Gazi. It was late. He had to walk in the dark all the way back to the gym, but it was a good little walk. Like, we just have so many moments together. Like, that's just one of them. I can't remember too many off the top of my head, but I mean, that's my brother. That's my brother for life. So,
from a basketball point of view, is this the saddest day of your life?
but yeah, I don't think I ever cried this much after a loss. Like, just knowing that it was my last. Like, we just got so close so quick, and like we done been through so much so fast. Like, it's. Like, when I call these people my brothers, like, I really mean that, like, each and every one of them. So, like, in terms of my basketball career, I'll never forget this one.
So you shed some tears.
Most definitely.
So grown men do cry.
I would say that. I call myself a man. I just cry my ass off.
Jairus, it comes quick, but the next few months for you feel like it'll be pretty whirlwind in terms of the things that you have to go through. You're going to have to do workouts, you're going to go to combines, that kind of stuff. Just have you sort of maybe prepared yourself a little bit for what's going to come?
Yeah, most definitely. That's what this school does. It just prepares you for the next level. Just in terms of how hard it is, how fast the game is played, what the coaches expect from you. So, I mean, that's really why I came here, just to get prepared for the next level. And I feel like they definitely got that done for me.
Did any of the guys say anything to you after this one that will, sort of stick with you?
I mean, just stuff that I already know. Like they just said, they love me, they gonna miss me, they appreciate everything. Like it's been a good, fun ride. So I mean, it's just something I'll never forget.
Thanks, Jairus.
So once again, that was Houston Cougars forward Jairus Walker. And of course, I need to bring up this comment from King Jaja. He says, Jairus needs development, but he is a lottery pick. He has to go, which obviously that's I tend to agree with that assessment. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that comment by King Jaja, which again, today's comment section here on Let's Rage Cougs is sponsored by the Lazarin Law Firm. A big thank you to them. But I mean, who'd like to take it? Because I agree with King Jaja. I think certainly when you look at Jairus Walker's intangibles and just overall his body and kind of coincidentally his body and his body of work, he shows flashes where he can be that NBA type lottery pick. But it very definitely still needs to be polished up in order to be consistent at the next level.
He's a top 5 pick in most of the projections. He has to go. I don't believe
most definitely.
I don't believe he's ready right now to have immediate impact in the NBA. But he's a top 5 once again. He's a top 5 projected lottery pick. He has to go. So, and that was expected. We touched on this. I think early in edition of one of these Let's Rage Cougs, I asked a question to you guys, the panel, and the audience. If the Cougs become if the Cougs become a one and done program, would that change how you look at the program? Because Jairus might not be the last one and done Coach Sampson and the staff get to come to Houston. So this is another part of the development of the program is one and dones. But Jairus being a lottery pick, he's got to go. None of us are surprised that he decided he made it official that he's declared for the draft. Good luck to him. The Cougs will take a step back without him in some form or fashion. There'll be a different team next year because Marcus will be gone, Jairus will be gone, Cougs will be in the Big 12. All those little different things, but they'll still be a good team for one very basic reason. Kelvin Sampson will be the coach. So they'll still be a good team.
Yeah, he's definitely he has to go. Like if you're anywhere in that 14, one of the 14 range, and you're a lottery pick as a freshman, like it's undeniable. And like even Cougs fans shouldn't be saying, "Oh, SMH," or "He's a fraud," or this and that. Like you're gonna have you have to think about your own future as well. And the NIL is great. I mean, it's starting to be good for some players, but it's not enough for someone like a freshman, Jairus Walker. We don't know what his situation is financially. That's like a no-brainer to me. But I just like how he proved me wrong, because I thought at the beginning of the season, just seeing his talent, I thought athletically he was a beast. Physically, he was a monster. But then I thought he needed some development. But even right now, he showed even throughout the tournament, these 3 games, like just snippets of how he's a lottery pick. And I'm sure he proved a lot of people wrong as well early in the season.
And Aqib, just to quickly piggyback to your point before Dayon, you make yours, but no, absolutely, there is nothing in the name, image, and likeness market, especially with the Houston Cougars, that can match top 5 NBA draft salary. But I digress. Go ahead, Dayon.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys, I agree he must go, but just projecting him to the next level, I think it really just depends on, of course, the fit and where he goes in regards to him being able to have an impact as a rookie. I like his skill set. It's going to translate well to the next level as a stretch for someone who can guard guards and in some cases guard some bigs. And but I like his game. Like he said, I think he's going to take the toughness and the culture that Houston provided him and the things that he learned at Houston will help him at the next level. I don't think he would have to defend as hard at Houston. I mean, in the NBA like he did at Houston, because especially in the regular season, no one really plays defense. But offensively, I like his game. I think he can become probably even a more efficient shooter. I think he can become a little bit more tougher, more physical, especially when he has mismatch in the NBA. They switch a lot, so he's going to have a lot of guards on him. And I think he should be able to just back him down, put his shoulder in their chest, and use his physicality, his strength and at times. But I like his projection. I think he has the potential to be an all-star in the NBA. I really like his game. I love today the way he played, just rebounding, assists, making plays. He didn't have a ton of points. I think what did he have?
Actually ended up being the team leader in points because of
Yeah,
the
15.
foul situation at the end.
Yeah, 16. He
But
had 16 points, but everything else he did from playmaking to rebounding. I think at the next level we'll see even more of his playmaking and his ability to hand the ball because the floor is more space. You can't just stand in the paint 3 seconds, defense 3 seconds. So I really like his game. I like his projection at the next level.
And just did a quick look at the rookie scale. Lottery, basically 5 to 14. The salaries, first year salaries, range from $6 million to $3 million. First year. That's not 800,000. That's quite a bit more than 800K that Nigel Pack got from Miami. Okay,
just a little bit.
So yeah, 6 million to 3 million. So just to keep that in mind. So a lottery pick. Good luck to Jairus. No surprise that he's gone. He's declaring for the draft. I'm kind of curious to see how the Cougs replace him and move forward, and whether they hit the transfer portal or if any guys decide to leave or just transfer themselves and all those different things. Hey, the Cougs will be fine. They're going to lose probably more games next year because of being in the Big 12, but they'll still go to the tournament. They'll still have a chance to get to the Sweet 16, and then who knows what'll happen.
Kris, real quickly, since obviously you cover the Rockets much more in depth than any of us, but what kind of do you see Jairus Walker's kind of and obviously it's hard to predict what his career is going to be, but obviously as a rookie, what do you see potentially that first year being? Because, I mean, looking at the most recent first-round draft pick for Houston, Quentin Grimes has developed into a really solid role player for the New York Knicks. Jairus certainly has a much higher ceiling than Quentin, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
It depends on the team that selects him. One issue, of course, going high in lottery is you're going to a bad team, and bad teams are bad for a reason. They have a lot of holes that need to be filled. So Rockets probably wouldn't get him
on the Rockets. If he somehow went to the Rockets, I feel like that would be me speaking. I feel like that would be a bad fit for him in terms of being able to maximize his development. But Kris, what say you?
Agreed, but also if they got him, that means they lost out and fell in the draft because he's ranging top 5 to 10 or 12 range, and that means Rockets have lost the lottery, lost the Wemby sweepstakes, and all those kind of things. And then the Rockets have to decide if they want to trade down, from 5 and get more picks or something like that, or get a veteran player to have an impact because Tillman wants to start winning with the Rockets, and he's tired of going lottery, and having so many youngsters on the team. So we'll see. But Jairus, the Rockets probably too many young players already on the team, so it would not be a good fit for him here. And then we'll go from there. He might have to spend some time, not a lot, but some time in the G League to get some games in and consistent minutes because based on the team he goes to, he probably won't get consistent minutes, which a lot of rookies need to improve their development in the NBA that first year.
I see him being as a great role player. Probably, obviously, it's way too early to say exactly, but I don't see him being like the top 2 or 3 options. But he can be that guy that can help you win a championship in the future, just because of the what he presents to you on defense, and then he can knock down shots. He has a handle. Like, well, who wouldn't? What GM wouldn't want that? But as far as like the Rockets go, I think culturally the Rockets are they're not a good fit just because, like Kris said, they have too many young players. They haven't found an identity yet, culturally, just, with Coach Silas, being a new coach. And we don't even know if Coach Silas is going to last. So I'd like to see him. He's going to be a lottery pick. I just wouldn't want, I mean, personally, I would love to have him on the Rockets, but I don't think it would work out
fit wise, and to be able to maximize his talent, I don't think it would work out either. I think an interesting team, like if you were to end up going to Orlando, Portland possibly could be some interesting possibilities for Jairus Walker as well. But obviously, still only time will tell. And like we're all in agreement that it's very clear that that's the best decision for him to be able to head into the NBA draft. It's a no-brainer. So congratulations to him as well, and really helping the Houston Cougars to get up to this point. And it's gonna be fun to watch his journey at the next level. But real quickly before we transition and talk about, we still have to talk about Marcus Sasser and a lot of other things. But of course, we'd like to thank everyone that is a sponsor of today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family. So we're going to start with the Saxenian Family, who, like I said at the top of the show, they've been the primary sponsor since day one of the Let's Rage Coogs basketball season, from November 7th or November 9th. I can't remember the first day of the season, but I know the game was against Northern Colorado, all the way here to March 24th, when Houston fell in the Sweet 16 to Miami. It's been Let's Rage Groups presented by the Saxenian Family. So, of course, big thank you to them for being the primary sponsor all season long. And, of course, we would like to thank our other partners, beginning with Harding Real Estate. Harding Real Estate is owned by Vincent Harding, a proud University of Houston alumnus, former U of H homecoming king, and a massive UH athletics fan and season ticket holder. In addition to being a real estate agent, he is also an attorney, and he wants you to know, if you are thinking of buying or selling a house, please contact Harding Real Estate at 832-758-2712. Once again, that's 832-758-2712. And we also like to say thank you to BB's. BB's Tex Orleans is a Cajun New Orleans themed restaurant with a unique Texas twist, featuring selections inspired by Cajun food. BB's cuisine is what they like to call Tex Orleans. Visit them online at bbstexorleans.com, and we thank them for being a partner on today's episode of Let's Reach Coops. And we'd also like to say a big shout out to Hoop and Holler, the Houston Micro Collective. Hoop and Holler is the entity behind the Star Pizza commercials with Ryan Elvin, DeAnthony Jones, and they've also done a name, image, and likeness deal with Layla Blair of the UH women's basketball team. And of course, our final partner for today's episode of Let's Rage Cook, Star Pizza, with 3 different locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop for pizza. Be sure to visit them online at starpizza.net, where you can check out their online menu and order online, or you can order online and just stop and pick up on the go. Star Pizza, Houston's best pizza since 1976. And of course, we also need to talk about Marcus Sasser. Now, see if I can put up the comment I saw from Justin Singleton, which again, we like to remind everybody that today's comment section is sponsored by the Lazarin Law Firm. Dan Lazarin founded the Lazarin Law Firm Group to provide legal representation to individuals who have been injured or arrested in the greater Houston area. Dan Lazarin understands that bad things sometimes happen to good people. Worse, false allegations are made every day. And with offices in Houston and Sugarland, Dan is equipped to handle your legal needs in Harris County and surrounding counties, including Fort Bend County here in Texas. If you have been injured or find yourself in other legal trouble, call the Lazarin Law Firm at 281-720-8551, or visit Dan online at www.lazarinlawfirm.com for a consultation. And on that note, Justin Singleton's comment: did Marcus Sasser improve his chances in the draft this season? For all intents and purposes, leading into this season, it was clear that Marcus Sasser would have been taken in last year's draft had he declared to not come back. Now, it seemed like he would have been a second-round pick. Do you guys see that he did enough this season to work his way up to a first-round pick?
No. But mock drafts I've seen, if so, it's at the very end of the first round. I've seen him at the top of the second round. So that is a bit of an improvement from the 40s in last year's draft projections for him. But there's, so many guys coming out, international players as well. I have not seen him in very many mock drafts in the first round yet. That might change based on combine performance, things like that.
I thought last season he could have gone late first round because of what he did in the combine. He had a great showing. Even I think he was also hurt at the time too, and he still put on a good performance.
He was just coming off the injury.
And he still played great in the combine. So in some of those scrimmage games. So I thought his best chance was always going to be leaving last season. Now, I think he had mentioned the fact that you don't get these moments, ever again, and I'm sure he really wanted to bring the championship home to Houston. But yeah, like Kris said, I don't think he improved it. If anything, he might have hurt it just a tad bit. Not much though. Like I did see one mock draft where it had him falling a little bit to like mid second round, versus like last season he was kind of almost a lock for an early second round pick. So definitely, I think it did hurt him just a tad bit, maybe, or it might have not just hurt him at all, but it definitely didn't improve.
I definitely think it improved it 100%. I think he improved his game all the way around. He improved his handle. He showed that he can play on ball, because that was a little bit questioned, because throughout his Houston career, he primarily played off ball. So I think he showed teams that not only can he run the team, but he can also play off ball if he plays with a dynamic guard. For example, Kyrie Irving or Luca, or whoever the case may be, he can play off the ball, and he can guard the ball. So I think he helped his draft stock. I think just projecting to the next level, once you get in an NBA setting, NBA rules, his game is going to flourish even more, because the floor is more spread and he can really beat his man off the dribble. We've seen how he can finish with either hand, left or the right. So I think not only did he prove as a player all the way around, I think he improved his draft stock as well. I don't pay attention to those mock drafts, because all of that really doesn't really mean nothing. And so, in my opinion, from what I've seen him with and in his game, I think he improved his game, and I think he improved his draft stock for sure.
I know Dayon would love to see him in the Dallas Mavericks uniform, especially if they are able to re-sign Kyrie Irving in the offseason. I think that's an interesting point, because if I remember when Quentin Grimes declared for the draft 2 years ago, some mock drafts had him middle of the second round, and
He was in
all
no
it took
first round mock drafts, none.
yeah, all it took was really Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks to fall in love with Quentin Grimes, especially with, I mean, kind of a similar path just in terms of the great two-way player that he is, and I
And
think
Quentin Grimes is
offensively,
6'5", Marcus is 6'1".
well, that's what I was gonna say. Offensively, Quentin Grimes is a more diverse and better player offensively, I would say. But I think overall, Sasser did show improvements in certain areas, especially when it came to just being able to play in transition. Of course, he showed that he was certainly one of the better defenders in the conference. But I think it's tricky. I think he's still on that edge between top of the second round, and I could see one team in late
Well, that's all it
first round
takes.
pick
That's all it
potentially.
takes is one team to fall in love with him. I think he improved his game in some facets, but there might be some team that say we can get him in the second round. Why give him guarantee money, a 3-year, a 4-year deal, 2-year options in the first round? Just get him second round and save money.
I think
Mr. Smith on the Lazarin comment section says Sasser will be a G League guy next season. Sorry, Aqib, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, I agree with Dayon. Like, he definitely improved his game. I just don't think, like Andy said, like, I don't see teams just banking on him and saying, "Oh, we need to scoop him in the first round," because he's not gonna be, even though he's a 4-year senior, fourth year senior. Like, teams they'll be okay with waiting for him to fall to the second round. And as far as like the difference between last season and this season, I'm not denying he didn't improve his game, but he didn't get to showcase. Like, some of us were expecting him to drop 20 points a game. Obviously, he didn't, just because he didn't have to showcase that, because of how well prepared Samson had the rest of the team. Because you had Jairus Walker scoring 10 a game, you had J1 scoring 10 a game, you had Shed scoring 10 a game, and you didn't need his 20 points per game scoring. I thought he could have improved the draft stock, but you're not going to see it from where he gets drafted.
He had he had the green light, he had a lot of freedom, but it still within Coach Sampson's system. So he wasn't going to jack up a whole bunch of threes, and he wasn't going to average 22, 23, 24, 25 points a game.
Yeah, this ain't Memphis.
Because you said it. I was going to say that, but you said that, and it's a system kind of thing. So Marcus may have a solid NBA career with the right team, but he's a short guard, and we'll see some teams don't like short guards, so that's going to knock him off a few teams' list. But in the case of Tom Thibodeau, it only takes one team, one coach, one GM to fall in love with a player. And the question will be, do they want to pay Marcus guaranteed millions of dollars as a first-round pick, or less guaranteed money as a high second round pick.
I do want to bring up this comment from Justin Singleton again. He said, "What current UH players over the past few years, except for Grimes, have been successful on the next level?" And I think it's a little bit different with both Walker and Sasser that are going to be entering the draft this year for Houston. I mean, well, those two guaranteed will be in the draft, but you think back to guys like Nate Hinton and Armani Brooks, who, I mean, honestly, it was. Well, at least from the case of Nate Hinton, where I could speak of, it was much more of a shock that he stayed in the NBA draft. It seemed like originally he was just going to test the NBA waters and see what people said about him, and he chose to stay. Yeah, similar with Brooks.
Yeah, can I say one thing? I don't think that's a fair question to ask because look at the guys that Sampson basically had to recruit to the UH team all these years. It's not these guys that are top 100. Now we're just now getting all these top 100 guys, but it's it's not fair to say, hey, look at Armani and look at Rob Gray and look at all these other guards that came into, because these guys were, some of them were JUCO players, some of them were not even top 100 players. So I mean, the fact that they even got looks from the NBA G League team, some of them still on G League teams, like that says a lot about how great a program Houston is, because even some of these blue blood programs or some of these programs that recruit top 10, like easily they get 2-3 guys in the top 10. Like some of them don't even have people guys going to the NBA.
And who don't have successful NBA careers. Yeah. It's an evolution of talent in the program. Jairus Walker is the first lottery pick that this staff has signed. He won't be the last. Okay, Armani Brooks, Rob Gray, Galen Robinson, Nate Hinton were good college players. They're not NBA players, especially good NBA players, starting NBA players. Getting Quentin Grimes to come here was a start of getting NBA caliber, players game in, game out. Damian Dotson was a second round pick, no longer in the NBA. But Jairus Walker is the start of a new type of player that Houston is getting. Earlier in the year, after his 4 made threes against Oregon, Terrence Arsenault was considered a draft pick because of potential. Jairus Walker's lottery pick because of potential, not because of what he did a lot this year, but you can see he's a very good passer. That's a skill he'll have a chance to showcase more on the NBA level. But the Coach Sampson system is still a college system with some NBA offense sprinkled in here and there. NBA game, NBA offense, those guys will get more of an opportunity to showcase their NBA skill set.
Coach Sampson runs a lot of NBA principal offense, which is primarily pick and roll, a lot of ghost screens just to get your best player in pick and roll action. And so he allows his players the freedom to get busy, just not to have a high volume of shots. And so I hear what you guys are saying. I just disagree with most of it, really. But
in what sense? How many NBA caliber players have they signed before Jairus Walker?
Well, you can say in hindsight, Quentin developed into an NBA caliber player. But when he got here in his first couple of years, no one was projecting, was saying, oh, he's an NBA player every time we seen him on the court. And then that last season, how he developed into an NBA player and he developed into what he is now, and which the stage of the NCAA tournament really, really helped him. And so, and then what Aqib was saying about the top 100 players, I get his point, and I understand what he's trying to say, and I agree with what he's trying to say, but I don't think that equates to Marcus, because Marcus is better than probably 100 of the players that came out of his class. And so, but I get the gist of what he was was saying and said, and so I understand it. But I really don't think that qualifies for Marcus. But overall, from Houston's perspective, they haven't got those type of players, in which all of those players don't always pan out. And But I mean, we'll see. Only time will tell. I don't know. I just know talent. I know basketball. I know what my eyes tell me. I know the game. And so, but we'll see. I don't. I'm not. I don't know.
Real
I'm not,
quickly on the
yeah.
topic of, well,
I
Aqib, I'll
was gonna
let you
say I'm
rebuttal,
not.
but
Yeah,
then I have to move on.
yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm not like discrediting Marcus's game or any of the guys that came out of this Houston program. I'm just saying you're gonna be limited as far as NBA talent goes because it's not. Yeah, and I don't disagree that like you need to be a top 100 player. I'm not saying that. It's just it's less likely to have guys that are gonna be drafted as high. But I'm trying to make a point that Houston puts out more NBA talent now than some of these other teams.
Right. No, I agree with that.
And well, to kind of finish the NBA talk, this was a question again from the Lazarin Law Firm comment section here on today's episode of Let's Read Coogs, put forth by Major Powell. I believe that's how I'm saying. If I'm butchering your username, apologies. But he asked, is Jamal Shed leaving Houston? And he also asked, is Tremont Mark leaving Houston? And I'll let whoever wants to take it first go ahead and take it. But I don't see them living. I certainly see them testing out the NBA waters and kind of getting feedback from them and going from there. But it'd be hard to see both of them or either of them leave for the NBA. But we've seen in the past that various factors that go into that decision. Tremont Mark was actually asked about it post game in the locker room, and he chose not to comment at all on it.
Well, I mean, I think they will test waters and they'll get the NBA advisory council to give them feedback on it. I don't believe either one of them are ready for the NBA. But again, it only takes one team. I think both guys are second round grades at best. And I would not advise any young person to stay in the draft unless you are a first round grade. It's your choice. It depends on your financial situation, all those things. But second round, that's not what, to me, that's not, if you just want to leave college to be a second round pick, that's your choice. A second round projection, that's your choice. You know, Armani Brooks, Nate Hinton, those guys did that. They were mistakes when they did it. They're bouncing around the G League now, trying to stay on that grind, pursuing that NBA dream. Hey, God bless you. I wouldn't advise that for folks. But it's your personal choice. If you are a first round grade, go. If you're not, then it's up to you what you want to do, what you believe in. If you're going to bet on yourself, okay. But if anybody decides to leave, you know what? I do believe what I know. Coach Kelvin Sampson, Kellen Sampson, Quantus White, Casey Beard, Hollis Price will find somebody else to fit in the system and keep it moving.
Yeah, the second, I can agree with that, Kris, for sure. But I guess it just depends on everyone's situation and some of these players. Armani Brooks was a second year player when he declared, or was it?
Yeah, he was a
third?
sophomore. He would have been a junior, correct, had he stayed for that 2019-20 season.
Yeah, I think he was averaging maybe 13 points, 14 points a game at best.
I think he was a junior.
Was he?
I think so.
Okay, I might be thinking about Nate Hinton.
Yeah,
Nate Hinton.
of Nate. Yeah,
Nate was
sure
Nate was a sophomore. Yes.
Yeah, Nate was a sophomore, but I think if you think you're gonna, because there what your ceiling is as far as like getting drafted. Some of those players like Nate Hinton offensively is not as gifted. Armani was he was more 3-and-D as well.
His size was really a factor for him.
Yeah, but he was a good 6'3", good 6'4", so it wasn't too big of a factor. I still think Armani should be getting looks in the NBA right now, even though is he still in the G League?
He still is. He doesn't do it. He doesn't do anything else well. What else does he do well for the NBA?
Yeah, but there are a lot of guys that have made a living off of 3-and-D in the NBA. It's not
which I think indicates the fact that Armani's not in the NBA. He's not consistent enough at that.
Yeah, but it was also a little. Kris, this is about situation as well. Like, and he was on the Rockets.
Sure.
I don't think that was. I thought he still should have had that 14th, 15th roster spot. That was just my opinion and maybe a little bias, but yeah, it's everyone's case is different. I'm not. We shouldn't. We're not going to fault anyone for just
No.
throwing their names in the hat. But definitely, if you're a second year, third year guy, like it doesn't hurt to stay an extra year. In the case of Sasser, it didn't hurt. It's just he like Dayon said, maybe he did improve his draft stock just a tad bit. And definitely, why not just finish out an extra year if you think you're gonna be able to play in the NBA for a while.
And the question about who should the Cougs
Last
sign
question.
in the portal?
Oh, well, I was going to move on to another topic,
Yeah,
but go ahead.
That's a good question. We'll answer that as well. Depends on who leaves. You know, if certain players leave, then they got to go fill those needs in the portal, which won't be a problem because this program
People want to play for Houston.
Yes, exactly. Which is another indication of how far this program has come in these 9 years. This is a destination for talented players to get a shot at the NBA, to get the freedom to be a scoring guard and to develop. So I'm not worried about, if anybody leaves, they'll be replaced. On to the next. And then it'll be a culture fit, and the staff will get the right guys to fit this system and move on.
And I did want to bring up this comment by GRX Engine via the Lazarin Law Firm comment section. This is a heavy question. Did this team underachieve? And after the game in the locker room that they allowed me to go into, the whiteboard that's set there for the Houston Cougars, where Kelvin Sampson had one simple writing on it. Kelvin Sampson put 33-4. That was the message to the team. Obviously, they underachieved in the sense that they didn't reach their ultimate goal, which was to win and hold up the national championship at NRG Stadium in Houston just a few days from now. Ended up losing in the Sweet 16, but record-wise, 33-4. They did win the American Athletic Conference regular season championship, but it'd be interesting to see it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, they did underachieve. I mean, there's no questions about it. What say y'all?
I mean, the goal was to win the championship, but in the sense of they had so many freshmen on this team that they kind of depended on, maybe not. But you look at it in this case, last year's team had 7 players made it to the Elite 8. This year's team was healthier, had a 5-star player, a lottery pick, and lost in the Sweet 16. So in that sense, you could say they underachieved. But overall, 33-4, younger players you're counting on. Coach Sampson said this team was a good team and was one of the teams that had a chance to win a championship. They just didn't get it done Friday night against Miami. They play Miami on Sunday. Could be a different issue. But that's again, March Madness is one and done. That's what it comes down to. One and done. There might be a time in the next 2-3 years, or who knows when a less talented Cougar team wins it all. And then we'd be like, well, we never saw that. We never saw it coming.
Yeah.
But that team found a way to win championship. That could happen because that's what, I mean, FAU.
Look at the team's last to remain.
So this year is just one of those strange cases that really March Madness, in a nutshell, a lot of teams that no one thought would be still playing. And the 4-1 seeds are not.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, speaking of that, but real quickly, Aqib, the Texas Longhorns officially clinched their Elite 8 berth and will be playing against Miami for a shot at playing at NRG Stadium a week from Saturday in the Final Four.
Yeah, I just want to say that I don't think they underachieved. I mean, if you look at the roster that they had, it wasn't the most deep team, honestly. Like, you had 5 guys that could give you 10 points or more, but then after that, you really didn't have anyone off the bench. Now, those teams where I'll say Dejan Jarreau, for example, was coming off the bench and making deep when they were making a deep run in the tournament. That team was – those teams are deep. Those teams probably had more in them to, make it to the Final Four or
more veterans.
More veterans, and that's what you need in the tournament is veteranship. And that's like we see this every single season is the team that has 5 guys that could be projected, first, second rounders. Like those are not the teams that are winning the tournament. So I wouldn't say they underachieved. As far as if you make a deep run, make it to a Sweet 16 is more than enough as an accomplishment. Had they lost to in the first round to Northern Kentucky, like that would have been a different story. But I think they did just fine, honestly, with the talent they had.
And think about it before anybody else chimes in, just real quick. Gonzaga and Houston, I think the Cougs, 4 straight Sweet 16s?
Correct. Going back to 2019.
That's the second most. 4 straight. So that's second in all of college basketball, men's college basketball. So is that underachieving if you make it 4 straight? Nobody else has, except the only team more than that is Gonzaga.
No, I agree. Everything Aqib said was really what I was going to say. Like, I agree 100%. They didn't underachieve for all the reasons that Aqib said. For sure, I don't think they underachieved at all.
And I'm looking at Miami's roster. Isaiah Wong, 4th-year junior.
They're scary next year.
Jordan Miller, 5th-year senior. Norshad Ormier, 3rd-year sophomore. Nigel Pack, 3rd-year sophomore. Poplar, sophomore. I haven't said a freshman, so, I mean, veterans. They got guys who've been in the wars. Anthony Walker, 4th-year junior. They didn't rely on 3 and 4 freshmen like Houston.
Look at Kansas State, too.
Kansas State, a lot of veterans.
Gonzaga.
Transfer portal, a lot of veterans. Alabama, a lot of freshmen. And ultimately, what happened to them? They lost 2.
Texas,
Sampson, veterans.
Texas, another team.
So veteran backcourt. Coach Sampson has told us for a while, you win with guards, yes, but you win with veteran guards, experienced guards, and that's how you get far in the tournament. And a lot of us say, "Oh, coach is just coach speak." More times than not, it's true.
King George's comment. Also, if you're going into the season thinking you're winning a natty, your expectations are too high. And he followed it up by saying, March Madness is a crazy tournament. Anyone can win. I think if you want to phrase it in from a disappointed standpoint, it's just much more in terms of where the Houston was unable to really make an answer to Miami's run. I think maybe that's the one thing where, again, disappointing may not be the right word, but it's just like, it just felt like with the season that they had, it kind of, you didn't expect that to be the finish. You were expecting at least one final run to be able to make a fight, and it just never came.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, Miami, after they had their 3-point barrage, that's when, as the game wound down, began making turnovers. They finished with 6. Yeah. They had 5 of those in probably the last 5 minutes, but the game was pretty much in hand. So because of Nigel Pack in that 3-point blitz he had in that 2-minute span, and his threes were demoralizing to the Cougars. They just hurt. They looked at it like, come on, man. He made another one.
Some of them, of them were like 3-4 steps back of the 3-point line.
It was just, wow, he made that one. And he made his season high threes tonight, 7. Previous high was 5. His season high points, 24. He had 26 tonight. It's just one of those things, man, of the tournament. Dan said it throughout many of these LRC shows. The Cougs could have a problem with guards. A team that has guards that get hot. Nigel Pack got hot tonight, and that's what happened. One and done. Miami moves on, and the Cougs are going home.
Anyone would like to add before we kind of put a final bow on this episode and the season, really?
Yeah. Just looking forward to next. Oh, go ahead, Aqib.
Oh, you got it, Dan. I'll chime in.
Just looking forward to next season without Marcus, the freshman coming in. Look, you got 3 post players, 1 guard. Don't know who they're going to add in the portal. If they do add into the portal, I think Houston is going to have a long season next year, not only because they're going to be in the Big 12, but I'm not really – I got to see the freshmen and the skill sets they bring, so I haven't seen them yet, so I can't objectively have an opinion on them. But the core players that they have coming back, who I know is going to have some experience, like Jamal, Tremont. I want to see how his role is going to expand, how he's going to take that next step in development. Emmanuel, I want to see him too. He showed flashes, but I want to see it. I got to see it before I can give an objective opinion on what he can be. And so I think Houston's going to have a long season. I don't know if they're going to win 30 games next year. I think
I would not expect that. Oh, no.
Yeah, me either. I think they're going to have a long season next year.
But I think one of those other players that you got to put in that category has got to be Terrence Arsenault, who, again, a freshman didn't get too many opportunities, but he's someone that the coaching staff has been high on, and he's going to have the full summer now to be able to work with the coaches and continue to develop. And he has, again, going back to Walker when it comes to the intangibles, to develop into a really solid player.
I think Terrence will have a better year next year, in my opinion, from what I saw of him, than Emmanuel. I think he'll probably be in that starting lineup, and he seems like a player, in my opinion, that plays better as he plays more. Now, this year, he was only getting little minutes and experience, not really to play through his mistakes. I think when he's able to play through his mistakes, he's able to play in rhythm, miss 2 or 3 shots, then he can come in, just play more freely. I think we'll see his game really, really take a next step. What I saw from him, the game at Memphis, I think when Marcus set out, the way he started that game and played it let me know that he got that it factor in everything that Coach Sampson says about him. Because now he just needs to learn how to sustain that level throughout a full game and a full season. So I'm expecting a big jump from Terrence. I think he got it. Emmanuel, I still got to see him, but Terrence, in my opinion, from what I saw a little bit, he got it for sure. Just got to put it all together.
And let me say this, Aqib, you can chime in afterwards. If Jamal and Tremont come back, which we think they should, but you never know until the fall season starts. If they come back, Juwan Roberts comes back, because today's game for Juwan Roberts, that's not how you want to end your college career, in my opinion. If he comes back, that's 3 of your starting 5. That's a strong starting 5 right there.
JVA.
You bring in, you start JVA and Terrence Arsenault, man, that's a solid 5, with that's experience in 3. And then you bring in, you got Terrence, who you believe in has a bright future. France has a bright future. I'm not expecting a lot from the incoming freshmen because they're freshmen, but I've envisioned Emmanuel Sharp being just a 6-man who could excel as a 6-man.
Lou Will, Jamal Crawford type.
But you got a core starting 5 right there. And then you add a transfer, and then you got Malik Wilson, could be a defensive guy.
And he's
disrupt.
Forgotten player.
So Malik Wilson, Emmanuel Sharp, Ramon Walker, who comes back. That's 8 right there. We're not even talking about the freshman class coming in that's talented as well. But the key is Jamal and Tremont returning. Because if they don't, then you got to hit the transfer portal hard, and then you got to, fit them in. It might take longer to fit them in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing what they do, how they fare in the Big 12. I'm sure they'll be, top 4 or 5 team, no doubt about that. It's just they're going to have to look for guys you still got to replace Marcus Sasser. It's not like, when he leaves, we'll have someone someone filling his shoes easily. It's not going to be that easy. The previous teams had guys that were like Marcus Sasser himself was like a backup role, and he came into this role. We don't have that guy.
Great point.
We don't have that guy this season. So,
it's an All-American, so it's not easy to replace an All-American.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, but we saw like Dejan Giroux when he was coming up, he was getting minutes as a freshman, sophomore. Then he came into his own, and you saw Corey Davis. Same thing with him. I did not see that this season. Maybe we'll see that next season with one of the guys like Terrence Arsenault or Emmanuel Sharp, but I didn't see that from us this season, and it's gonna be a rough season. It's not gonna be the easiest. It's the Big 12.
Define rough.
Well, rough meaning rough. We're not gonna be winning expected to win every single game. That's what.
That just comes with the confidence.
It's still a 20-win team, and as we've seen, you can lose 8, 9, 10 times in the conference and still get into the Big 12 and get to the tournament.
Still get into consideration.
But
to
one
add
last
on to
thing,
the
Andy, you
point,
close it out real quick. One last thing. We might be shocked at some elite guy in the portal decide to come to Houston. Some sniper, some Adam Flagler type player say, Coach, I want to come to Houston because I think I can help y'all. Y'all can help me. Who knows? If they get that for that 3-point shooting, onward and upward.
Sasser spot's open, so someone can fill that if you can find someone.
I mean, to that comment, I think if you want to pick from the roster, you would have to say that if Tremont Mark comes back, it would have to be,
it got to be
him.
Tremont.
Fills that spot.
Yeah.
Most definitely. But that's gonna do it for the final Let's Rage Coogs of the season. Once again, Let's Rage Coogs was presented by the Saxenian family all year long. Of course, we want to say thank you to each and every single sponsor that was a partner throughout the entire season. Hoop and Holler, Star Pizza, BB's Tex Orleans, Harding Real Estate, and tonight's comment section was sponsored by Lazarin Law Firm. Those 5 respective businesses for being a sponsor on today's episode of Let's Rage Cougs. And of course, we can't say thank you enough to all of you guys that tuned in and watched. If you watched a single minute at any point in the season, obviously are tuning in for tonight's episode. We can't say thank you to you guys enough for really allowing this show to take off and actually every game at Fertitta Center, those people saying Let's Rage or giving props to the show, which we can never say thank you enough for that. And year 1, and it was a success. So Kris, like you always say, onward and upward. But we'll go around the table. Dayon, I'll go to you first because I know you have to log off. Where can people find you? And of course, any final closing comments?
You can find me on all social media at Dayon Dunlap. Love being part of the show. Hopefully you guys continue to allow me to be a part of the show going forward. I enjoyed it. I loved the platform that we've built, the momentum that we've built, and how we've constantly grown. So, like Andy said, appreciate all the supporters. Thank you, guys. And always, just go Coogs.
Yeah, y'all can find me at Aqib Gazi MMA on Instagram, on Twitter. And great season. Honestly, some might be down about today's game, but it was a great season overall.
And I'm Kris Gardner, Houston Roundbar Review. See me on Twitter at VHR Review. Andy, that's another example. Well, here in Kansas City in the arena, had a Coug fan come up to me and thanked me for the show and gave us props for what we do. So that's another indication of that's another sign. We thank you. We know folks watch, we tune in, we appreciate that. We're going to continue providing this content for you. And just because the season is over, we're still going to provide content for you on Houston Roundbar Review on YouTube and Paul Slamma Jamma as well on YouTube. So don't go away. We still got Cougs content to give you throughout the summer, throughout the off season, and then once the season starts in football and basketball, because folks, Big 12 official start is July 1st. So we're going to have content for you there. So just stay tuned to the Houston Roundbar Review on YouTube, HoustonRoundbarReview.com, Houston Roundbar Review on Instagram. And as always, I appreciate it, everyone, all your support, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, Kris, I couldn't have said it any better. But of course, I just want to again reiterate saying thank you to everyone. Thank you to the families of the players that have stepped up to us and said that they not only they watch the show, but they enjoy it. That's an awesome compliment to get as well. Every single person at the Fertitta Center that we've interacted with, I just can't say thank you enough. Really, that's the biggest takeaway out of everything. It came as a vision and it grew. And this is actually, you guys can't tell, but this is the first ever Let's Rage Cougs with a live studio audience. We have an audience of 1 here off screen. Ryan Monceau of GoCougs.com, who was obviously a sponsor with HOUNIL throughout the course of the season. Ryan's waving and happily saying, what? He said he is very proud of the show and hates Uber. That's what he said. But of course, thank you. That's all I can say. Wrap it up. Thank you. Once again, the final score from Kansas City. Miami beat Houston 89-75 in the Sweet 16 to they themselves advance to the Elite Eight. That's it for the Houston Cougars season. And Kris, like you said, now the attention turns to the Big 12. Thank you to everyone. This has been Let's Rich Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family. And until next time, we're signing off.